Hi there, it's Sonia here from The Art of Stamping with another video tutorial. I'm hugely honored today to participate in the blog hop for Kathy Rakusin's 30-day coloring challenge. If you have never heard anything about this challenge, just hop over to my blog, which I link to below in the video description. You can find out more about it there. What you'll also find on my blog is more information about a huge giveaway which is linked to the blog hop. There's lots and lots of awesome prizes to be won, so make sure you definitely check it out in the end. First, however, let's take a look at my coloring project for today. I colored this cute little elf by My Favorite Things with colored pencils, and I want to give you a brief introduction to my supplies and my coloring technique. To start with, I do of course need some colored pencils. The ones I'm using here are Luminance pencils by Caran d'Ache. They are wonderfully soft and intense, and I'm totally in love with them as of late. Unfortunately, they are also very expensive, so don't get shocked when you search for them online and see some prices. You definitely don't need them if you want to try out my coloring method. Basically, you can follow my instructions with any colored pencil brand you have on hand. Just try out what you have at home to see if coloring with colored pencils is something you want to do more often. As I'm usually coloring rather small images, I love my pencils to have a very sharp point. And to obtain this, I'm using a manual sharpener with a hand crank by Dahle. As you're moving the crank while sharpening and not the pencil, it's less likely that the lead will break. Something that often happens to me when I'm using a standard school sharpener, where you have to move the pencil to sharpen it. Here you see how the sharpener holds the pencil and how I only use the handle to sharpen it. And the point is very sharp, as you can see here. For me, another hugely useful tool when coloring anything with any kind of coloring medium is a color chart. You saw before that I chose the colors I want to use on my image in advance. I know that a lot of you don't do this and just chose their colors as they paint. There sure is nothing wrong with that, and I've seen lots of beautifully colored images done that way. However, I need to be a bit more organized to be comfortable with my coloring process. That's why I chose my colors in advance. And that's when I find a color chart very useful. I can easily see what all my colors look like and decide which ones would look best on my image. But enough of my tools, let's start coloring. I always hear a lot of crafters say that they'd love to use colored pencils, but they never do because they fear that it's much too difficult. Well, believe me, it's not. It's not difficult at all. It is, however, a slow coloring process. If you want to color with colored pencils, you have to take your time. You have to carefully add layer upon layer of color to obtain smooth gradients and to build up shadows. I always use 2 to 3 hues of a chosen color to create these shadows, and I begin with a light layer of my lightest color as a base. I often leave the highlight areas untouched at first to make sure that they don't get too dark in the end. After I applied my base layer, I carefully add my darker hues, always moving from the darkest shadow areas to the highlights. I'm repeating this process several times until I'm happy with the outcome. Usually the coloring still looks a bit raw after you've laid down the first layers of color. Don't despair, that's totally normal. You just have to add more layers to smoothen out the edges. One thing you have to make sure is to always glide lightly over the paper with your pencils, even if you're building up shadows. Pressing down harder is the last step to take for creating depth in your coloring. If you think your shadows are not getting dark enough, you can even add black or another dark color as your darkest hue. I'm deliberately showing this on the elf I'm coloring here and didn't do it on the 2 guys I colored above. When my present coloring is finished, you will see that the shadows on the 2 other elves are not as deep and defined as on the one I'm coloring now. I like both results, the soft and the deep shadows. But no matter which one you prefer, keep in mind to never press down your pencils too hard, because as soon as you do so, you're going to destroy the tooth of the paper you're working on, and it's hard to add more layers or create smooth gradients on a paper that has no tooth at all. Well, that basically is the secret of my current method of coloring with colored pencils. I'll now play some music and let you enjoy the rest of the coloring process. Should you have any questions or remarks, just comment on my blog or in the YouTube section below. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe if you want to see more of what I do in card making. And don't forget to hop over to my blog to find out more about the 30-day coloring challenge and the current giveaway. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.